Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Here I've got my Kyosho Pedal Popper, except this isn't my Kyosho Pedal Popper. This is the rolling chassis that I got right when I got my pedal popper. So as you can see, it's got wheels on it. This video will be about how to fit a modern set of wheels onto a pedal popper if some random person out there has one that they still want to drive. I've got my actual pedal popper here for reference. Let's go airborne with the camera here. I just wanted to show that the fitment is pretty much spot on. A little bit of wheel poke in the front, major wheel poke in the rear, but that's a feature, not a bug. So if you look at the original one, it's just as crazy. So, how do we fit modern tires on a 1990s chassis? Well, you're going to need some parts. On this one, for that fitment, what I've used are BSR brand rear foam tires. These are the 45mm wide ones, and BSR brand 32mm wide front tires, also foam. For the front wheels and tires, the original wheels actually have a bearing in them, so we have to replicate that. A 5x12x4 bearing would be perfect if you can find one. But in the hobby, 5x11x4 is super popular, so I use some Traxxas ones here with a small 3D printed adapter. And the rear end, that offset is really weird, so we're using hub extensions. Now these are actually hub extensions that are intended for an axial crawler, which is kind of weird, but they work fine here, and I'll take the wheels off and show you how I did that. On the rear axle here, you can see I've got this hub extension. That stock screw, this hot racing kit, I guess a part number would be nice. It's SCX10 FT01, and those are actually 15s. Looks like what I used here was the 20mm version. My mistake. I just put the screw clean through it, through the axle where the stock pin would go. Now what's important though is that these actually have a little lip right about here for a resting spot on an axial vehicle, and that's not going to work for us. So what you have to do is you have to take the extension and take a 7/32 drill bit and just run it all the way through, and that opens up the lip. It's probably really hard to see way back in there, but there's a lip right around the edge just before the pin. You have to drill that out, then it fits just fine. Once you get that on there, you also have to drill out the wheel, and that wheel should also be drilled out with the same 7/32 so that it's not really a nut. The threaded shaft can go through it and grab onto the stock threaded axle, and also this needs to be cut down a little bit. You'll have to experiment. I think I cut about 1/3 of it off. I don't have any solid measurements on that, but that's pretty much it for the rear end. So it's make sure that's a big enough hole. It just barely squeezes through there, and that bolts onto the rear. Now for the front. The front's a little easier, I guess. The axle here is solid in the knuckle, so what you need to do is get a bearing into the wheel, and if I remember correctly, that axle free spins. Yep. Let me grab a screwdriver. There it is, #1 screwdriver into the back, and you can take the wheel nut off. So that's a bit annoying. I'm going to stop there so I can put it back together. But as you can probably see, it's really just a bearing sitting inside of that. Now, again, this one that I used was a 5x11, so I printed, you can see around the edges, a hex with a 11mm wide hole for that bearing to sit in, and the wheel spins true enough. I mean, it's a wheelie machine. It's not going to be going super fast anyways. But I'm going to put that back together because I really don't feel like getting that axle off. You can grab this with pliers and just undo it. But anyways, hopefully that makes a little more sense. Wheel bearings in the front, hub extensions on the rear, and you can use modern tires.